You're going to love doing this next project with your children because it's an excellent way to teach recycling and renewal, a way to bring new life from trash. I'm going to show you how to make paper pulp with cast-off scraps and infuse it with flour or vegetable seeds to form it into a shape like this. When planting season arrives, this shape can be sprouted and turned into a beautiful garden. You'll need to start out by collecting some paper scraps. You can use lightweight cardboard, grocery bags, egg cartons, paper rolls, newspaper, napkins, phone book pages, any of these things. You can even add small bits of bleeding tissue paper, the kind that loses its color as soon as you put it in water. That'll help giving it a little extra color. Next, we're going to prepare a screen to make your shape and to strain the water away from the paper pulp. We're going to use some elementary stencil shapes, plastic stencils. Now these are very simple shapes and they're very wide open, so they're going to be perfect for this project. We're also going to need a screen, and I have cut a piece of plastic stitchery canvas. Now you can use the regular screen wire, but you may have a little bit of trouble getting it to lie flat and you may end up with some sharp edges, so this would be a good alternative. You're going to temporarily attach it to the back of the stencil by using a little bit of duct tape. Simply attach it to the front, then turn it over and attach it to the back, making sure that you leave the stencil open. I have a piece here that I have duct taped all the way around. Now the problem with this is that you can't duct tape all the way in the center, and sometimes little details like this come up. In that case, you might want to take some waterproof glue and glue down those edges. Or in this case, I have a cutout piece that I needed to glue right into the center. Now we're going to put the screen onto a folded towel. This is a very moist project, so you'll need to have plenty of old towels handy. Lay it down, screen side down, stencil side up, like so. Let's move on to the blender and the paper pulp. I've already filled it up about 3/4 of the way full with paper scraps. I'm going to add just a little bit more of the paper scraps, and then I want to have some color. So I have some bleeding tissue paper to add. Next, we're going to add some water, about 2 cups. We're going to fill it up to the 2-cup line, like so. And then blend it for about a full minute on a low speed. Once we have it fully blended, we're going to put it through a kitchen strainer, which I have placed over a mixing bowl right here. Just dump the pulp into the strainer like so. Then take your fingers and gently push it against the strainer to remove as much excess water as you can. All right, let's set this water aside. I have a smaller bowl here that I'm going to remove my pulp into. Now at this point, we're going to add some things. I have some forget-me-not seeds that I brought with today, so I'm just going to open that package and pour it on top of the pulp like so. You can also add biodegradable organic materials such as flower petals, bark chips, leaves, or even hemp strands. That adds a lot of interesting texture and a little bit more color to the pulp as well. Once I have it thoroughly mixed, we'll put it into our screen form. Just take a piece of pulp and lay it over the screen inside the shape, like so. If you overlap the edges of the form, don't worry about it. You can always trim it away once it's dry. The thicker you apply the pulp, the stronger the finished piece will be. So an area like this tail right here, I want to get quite a bit of pulp over that tail area. Otherwise it might break off. Now have some paper towels, or in this case, I have a sponge handy so that I can absorb the excess moisture like this. All right, now you're going to set it aside and allow it to dry for at least 24 hours. If you have a drying rack, that's the best way to dry it because the air will be able to reach both sides. If you don't have a drying rack, turn it over every now and then while it's drying, and that way you make sure that the air gets to the back side too. To decrease the drying time, set it in front of a fan on a low speed or place it in a sunny location. But don't use a hair dryer because heat will damage the seeds. Once it's dry, you'll remove the tape and take the pulp out of the mold. I have a piece that's ready to come out right here. Remove it by bending the mold and releasing the paper, like so. The screen and the stencil may both be reused. When it's dry, you can embellish the shape with a little more color if you'd like. I wouldn't use dry materials such as colored pencil or regular pencils. First of all, you have a very rough surface here, and it's hard to get the color down in all of the crevices. You also run the risk of damaging the seeds with colored pencil or pencil. If you use a dry chalk material, like the Blick pastels that I have here, you can apply the color and then use your fingers to move it down into all of the crevice areas, like so. You could also use a little bit of watercolor, but don't use too much water because you might get your paper too wet and the pulp will turn back into pulp again. While the pulp is still wet, you can add a little bit of a string or ribbon in between the layers of pulp and make a hanging ornament like this dragonfly right here. This also has some inclusions of marigold petals in it to add a little bit of nice color to it. They make great greeting cards. Fold the card, construction card, into a greeting card shape and glue the shape onto it, and then you can decorate the card to match the shape, like so. When it's time to plant, you'll take your shape, break it up into small pieces, and plant it directly into the soil or in a pot. Keep the soil very moist in order to help the seeds germinate and keep it in a sunny location. Now, if you need to start the seeds indoors, you can make a mini greenhouse out of a plastic bag. Simply place your shape inside the plastic bag, spritz it with water to keep it moist, and then prop it open with another paper cup so that plenty of air gets to it and so that the seeds have room to grow. Once they've germinated, they can be transplanted into the soil or into another pot. I have a piece to show you here. These are my daisies that I planted about a week ago. And if I move some of the soil aside, you can see my pulp down in there. I planted it in the pot, kept it watered, and pretty soon I'll be able to put these outdoors. Now, all the materials instructions for this project are at dickblick.com/lesson plans. And if you're a teacher that's putting together a lesson plan, we do list the national standards for visual arts education to help you get your paperwork started. So now that you have the instructions, what are you waiting for? Let's get growing.